Mr. Speaker, 2 years ago, I exposed the fact that many children in CFS group homes are not going to school. My concerns for the education of children in care are not new. Today, the Manitoba Centre for Health Policy has released a study which reveals the shocking truth that under this government, only 33% of children in care are graduating from high school. Why has today's NDP government been ignoring the fact that 67% of the children that they are directly responsible for, that's in the care of government, why have they been ignoring the fact that 67% of these children have been failing to graduate from high school?
Order, please. The honourable member's time for this question has elapsed.
I actually appreciate getting a question. We just had 3 rants, and now we've got actually a question that focuses on an important matter of public policy. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased the Minister for Education and Advanced Learning commissioned this study for the Manitoba Centre for Health Policy, looked forward to the recommendations, has immediately followed up with a task force with one of the co-leaders of the task force is what we call the good Kevin Lamoureux. He never was a member of the legislature. And the other member of the task force, leading the task force, is Tammy Christensen from Nudinaway. They have direct experience in working with young people. As the member knows, we've extended the mandate for Child and Family Services to provide protection and support for people up to into their mid-20s, Mr. Speaker. And one of the things we want them to do is to be able to complete high school and go on to post-secondary education. We've worked very closely with institutions like the University of Winnipeg to have tuition waivers. We're seeing good results in high schools and alternative programs being offered in Brandon, in the inner city, in the north end of Winnipeg. The Brighter Futures program is doing a tremendous amount to help young people at risk of complete school. We're getting very good results there, Mr. Speaker. This task force will take us even further.
Order, please. The honourable First Minister's time in this question has elapsed.
After 16 years, to have only 33% graduating from high school is appalling.
Yes.
It is a shame that this Premier and his government have done so little for so long for the children who are wards of the government. Today's NDP are the acting parents for these children, and education is one of the most valuable gifts that can be given to a child. What parent would not even know if their children are going to school? 2 years ago, when I asked the Premier what proportion of children in care in group homes are actually going to school, the Premier didn't know the answer. The Premier's had 2 years since this to get the basic answer. I asked the Premier what proportion of children in care, and particularly those in group homes, are actually going to school.
This is a good question, unlike what we've seen from the members of the opposition who just do 3 rants and a round of applause for themselves, Mr. Speaker. This question was one that we commissioned the Manitoba Centre for Health Policy to follow up on. They've brought back their recommendations. They've brought back information about the success rates. Members need to know that our graduation rate in public schools has gone from 71% to 87%, Mr. Speaker. This report was commissioned specifically to look at an at-risk group, and as a result of that report, a very good task force has been put in place with people that have direct experience teaching people to succeed at the high school and post-secondary level. And we are going to follow up with more supports and more results that will enhance many of the things that are already going on in our high schools, in our junior high schools, in our Brighter Futures programs, where we work with students all year round, after school, in the weekends, on summer holidays, to help them complete school, get supports they need, to earn incomes and bursaries, which will allow them to go on to post-secondary education. We can do more. 87% is a dramatic improvement. We can take it even further, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, 16 years and still only 33%. 16 years and 2 years after I asked the question and still no answer. Mr. Speaker, in my work with children in care, I found them to be very bright and intelligent. Yeah. One might say that they have to be extra clever to survive the CFS system under this government.
No kidding.
Mr. Speaker, the study shows that children in CFS care are suffering under today's NDP. Yep. The problem is that today's NDP government is a bad parent. And as the minister herself said, today's NDP have not designed group homes for raising children. No. Why then is today's NDP continuing to apprehend so many children and put them in care.
Mr. Speaker, I do actually appreciate the question from the member. It's a thoughtful question, unlike what we've seen from the opposition, who continue to go on their ideological rant to privatize. They now want to privatize daycare, Mr. Speaker. In our daycare system, we have put curriculum in the daycare system called early childhood learning, Mr. Speaker. We have early childhood development programs that start with home visiting and healthy visits to young families to help them get off to a good start. We've reduced class sizes in K-3 to around an average of 20 students. We've added 300 teachers in the K-3 area to help young people succeed, Mr. Speaker. And this report that was commissioned by the minister from the Manitoba Centre for Health Policy is focusing in on a high-risk group, a group that we are now providing more services to well into their 20s. We think that we can increase their ability to graduate from high school and go on to post-secondary education. I only wish the member opposite, when he was in the federal government, hadn't cut education programs at the post-secondary level 38%, Mr. Speaker.